Hello you beautiful people, Aaron here, back with another video. With Dendro's release, I wanted to check out the mechanics of the new reactions and how they work. I mean, that's my intro. That's all I got. So for those who don't know, the reactions that were introduced into the game are Bloom, which branches off into Burgeon and Hyper Bloom, and Quicken, which branches off into Aggravate and Spread. I'll take these step by step, so don't worry if this is too confusing. But if you know this stuff already, here is the timestamp on screen now that you can skip to get to the good stuff. Also, there will be chapters in the description relating to every character and test. Now, Bloom is the reaction that occurs when Dendro meets Hydro. The reaction drops a seed onto the ground, which will deal AoE Dendro damage equal to overload damage after a few seconds. This reaction changes into Burgeon when hitting the seed with pyro damage, which deals increased AoE damage equal to 1.5 times overload and is activated immediately. Hyper Bloom is the reaction that occurs when Electro hits the seed, which causes the seed to home in on a target and deal Dendro damage equal to 1.5 times overload. Quicken works sort of similarly to this, but with a mixture of Electro and Dendro. Then there's Shinhe mixed with Melt and Vape. So Quicken works when Electro and Dendro meet. This reaction simply applies an aura onto the target that allows the next reactions, Aggravate and Spread, to work. Aggravate and Spread are, by all means, the same reaction, as they both add a base damage multiplier onto an attack that applies Electro or Dendro to a target when the Quicken aura is on them. However, they do have two differences. Aggravate is only for Electro and has a 1.15 multiplier, and Spread is for Dendro and has a 1.25 multiplier. All this means is that Dendro's Spread is stronger than Electro's Aggravate. But that's all there is to know about the new reactions for initial applications case. Now onto the meat of the video. Let's start with some details and interactions with the new reactions. Let's start with Quicken. As stated before, Quicken applies an aura similar to Freeze, but how long does it last? Well, in total, it lasts about 9 3/4 seconds, which is a bizarre amount of time, but it really seems like they just want this buff to be permanent. This duration impacts other characters very little, as their application can usually happen within 3 seconds, except for Yae Miko. When fighting against a mob, Yae's skill is not consistent and will strike whoever it wants to. This means that it can only strike one enemy every single strike, it can hit everyone but one enemy, it can strike all enemies evenly, or somewhere in between everything. So with the long duration of Quicken, Yae can actually benefit from the reaction against mobs. This, as of now, is the only thing that such a long duration really impacts. Well, that and ease of rotations. This is dandy and all, but what happens if we apply other elements to the catalyzed aura? Well, this is the type of stuff testing is for. So let's apply Cryo, Pyro, and Hydro to Quicken and see what happens. Well, it looks like all three elements can proc their respective reactions, and none of the other elements remove the Quicken aura from the target. This means that Quicken, Spread, and Aggravate can all occur even when Bloom, Electrocharged, Burning, Overload, and Superconduct are in play. This is incredible, as it means you do not have to give up your other reactions to get the ones you originally wanted. For instance, in a Taser comp, while having Electrocharged jump from target to target, you can also Bloom and Quicken targets with no downside. Before moving on to specific character interactions, I wanted to show off what happens with the other aura effects in the game, aka Burning and Freeze. So let's test them out with Dendro in the mix. Let's start with Freeze. As you can see from this clip, Freeze is able to exist simultaneously with Dendro and Bloom, as no element removes or prevents any other element from reacting. But what if we add Quicken into the mix? Oddly enough, Freeze and Quicken can both exist on the same target, though it is not easy to keep it on them for long. Now, Burning. What happens when you add the other elements? Well, Hydro and Electro just completely remove the aura on the enemy, and instead focus on their own reactions, which is good in most situations. However, Cryo is able to keep the Burning aura on the enemy, as you can see in this clip, where I'm able to melt 3 times with 1 Burning using Ganyu. So time for character-specific stuff. If you want to see a specific character, then the chapters below will help you. Any name you don't see is under the assumed it works and or it's not applicable anyways category. But from here on, I will describe what is just on screen. First is Yae Miko. Her skill is able to proc Aggravate once every 3 hits, which is good. However, her skill can also hit Bloom, which is pretty bad, considering that if she does, her skill will not hit an enemy, so she'll be losing damage. Her burst always activates Aggravate. Despite it not saying so on the screen, you can see the number for her burst damage doesn't change at all, which means it is actually getting Aggravate. Kuki works as you would think. Her skill procs Aggravate every 2 hits and on the initial cast. Her burst can hit it every 3 hits, and both her skill and burst consistently proc Hyper Bloom. Look, it's fun. Keqing can proc Aggravate on her burst 3 times, 1 from the initial damage, 1 at the very last hit, and then 1 from the mini hits in between those. Her skill procs it only once, and her normals plus charge attack combo only procs Aggravate once as well. And like Kuki, every part of her kit can easily proc Hyper Bloom. Lisa is broken with Aggravate since she has the defense shred. As such, her burst can easily proc it and apply Quicken to multiple enemies. Lisa seems to have finally found a place in the meta. Also, every part of her kit can proc Hyper Bloom with ease. Now here's Fischl being broken. Just look at the Aggravates. She can also activate Hyper Bloom pretty frequently, but not absurdly quickly like some other Electro characters can. This is mainly because only her Essential 4 passive can proc it. Her own Oz shots and C6 I could not get to hit the seeds. Last but not least, we have Beidou, who is able to proc both Aggravate and Hyper Bloom with her skill and the initial cast of her burst, but her burst's bounces can only proc Aggravate and completely ignore the seeds. Now onto the Pyro characters. First is Yoimiya, who can hit the seeds with both the initial cast and the explosions from her burst. However, her normals struggle to hit because they auto-target. Then Thoma, who is really great with Virgin since he can always hit all of the bloom seeds. Xinyan works the same way and can easily hit the seeds with every source of pyro damage in her kit. My final pyro testing goes to Xiangling, who like everyone else always hits the seeds with everything she could do. Again, like said before, all characters with certain skills not tested are the ones that are just assumed to work and just are not applicable to the character. The only times I have recorded where something does not work with the reactions is with Oz's attacks, other than his Essential 4, Beidou's burst bounces, and Yoimiya's normals. Well, that's it from me today. Short video, but hopefully useful. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!